I think Dergview is unique in a sense that it has a small number of people that work extremely hard, and that keeps a feeling of humility and ambition, and that's kind of what the club, I think, would mean to me.
In February 2022, Dergview's home, Darragh Park, was submerged under a metre of water, and while the extent of the damage wasn't as bad as first feared, it did cause concern, and the team were forced to reallocate finances from their stadium upgrades to simply fixing their own playing surface. Their manager Tommy Kenny recalled how he felt when he first learned about the flood.
Shock, fear, worry. That stage of the season, for the first team, we had been going relatively well at that time. We spent a lot of money on the main pitch last summer in the closed season, and so we were worried that it was going to have a detrimental effect on that. We also have invested over £100,000 in a new training pitch, which was under 5 foot of water, so there was huge concerns around the lasting damage, the lights here, the stand, the infrastructure. We were worried about all of that.
The sub-regional Stadia programme, which would allow nearly £40 million of funding to become available for football clubs in Northern Ireland, has been promised by the Northern Ireland Executive. But the flagship project is yet to reach the bank accounts of these clubs, with some having already made significant investments with the promise of money to come. Several months on from the flood, and Dergview are still feeling the effects. While matches are still being played as normal, the club needs the money to be released in order for stadium upgrades to be made.
It's really important for somewhere like Dergview that the stadia funding comes through. A lot of what we have here has been put together through fundraising and through some support from the local community, but mostly through volunteers at the club here. I suppose there's only as far you can take it without having kind of proper funding from government. Our changing room facilities are extremely poor. Probably the poorest in the league, and we're in dire need of funding from government for that.
Darragh Park isn't the only stadium in Northern Ireland to be underwater in recent times. In fact, Dergview can count themselves lucky, as Institute FC, based just 25 miles down the road, were forced out of their home as a result of a flood in August 2017. The Riverside Stadium, which was the home of Institute, has been left abandoned since, and is listed for demolition in the coming months after a Japanese knotweed problem became too much, alongside difficulties in getting insurance for the stadium after the flood. Kevin Doherty was a coach at Institute at the time of the flood and reflected on the struggles that he had with the team despite going on to win the title and promotion back to the top division in Northern Ireland.
One game into our season and we got flooded at the Riverside, and I think we trained on 20 different venues that year. We won the league at the end, which was great, and we used it to our advantage, but it's very, very difficult because they're few and far between. A lot of the local clubs are using most of the facilities that the council would own. So I remember that season we were indoors in a 3G, we were outdoors, we were asking rugby teams to play and the pitches and different things. And then our home matches, we played them in Limavady and we played them in Wilton Park in Derry as well. And very, very difficult. But again, because of the squad we had, it was rewarding to get over the line at that stage. But yeah, it was a huge blow to the club, and it still is a massive blow to Institute at the time. And Dergview, I remember we had to go to UEFA and try and get some funding to help them, put back what they had here, originally.
Just like Institute, Dergview is a club that is a massive part of the community, and the majority of staff on match days are unpaid volunteers. From the social media updates to the several cups of tea being made, volunteers are the driving force of football in Northern Ireland and proved a massive help in the recovery of both clubs.
Dergview is situated right in the heart of the community here at Castle Derg. We're a rural club, and so we rely heavily on community for support. We rely heavily on community to back us in terms of coming through the gate on a Saturday. We rely on community to produce players for us. We rely on the local clubs in the area to produce players that maybe then can step into first team football at Dergview. So community is important for the club, but the club is also important for the community. We kind of feel that it's important that Dergview represent the local community here at Castle Derg with a bit of pride and a bit of honour and kind of showcasing what's good about the local area.
Yeah, I mean, clubs have a massive role to play within their respective communities, and a lot of football clubs and Gaelic clubs, a lot of sports clubs are embedded within the community. And only the last pandemic there would show how much they're embedded. I mean, the community spirit that was involved to get people, food and different things, across, and medical resources. So, yeah, the club has a massive role to play in communities. And the more people we can get involved in clubs, the more fundraising they can do. You know, they can have an even bigger impact.
The match sponsorship is a popular occurrence on match days in Northern Ireland, and in Dergview's Irish Cup tie against Glentoran, they had a surprise name that came forward. Northern Ireland international Conor Bradley, who is from the local area, sponsored the match and in return increased the exposure of the club as he was playing for Liverpool at the time, helping to bring more people through the gates of Darragh Park.
And we were delighted. We were absolutely delighted that he made contact with us and decided to do that. And we're super proud of him, even though he wasn't a Dergview player as such, but because he's from the local area, Dergview are very, very proud of what he's achieving at the minute and hope he goes on to achieve even more.
With support for football in Northern Ireland at an all-time high and the elite clubs getting closer to the group stages of European football, Northern Ireland is very quickly rising in the league coefficient rankings, something that is a benefit for all. For Dergview, another season in the NIFL Championship is what they have to look forward to. But like many clubs, they are thankful to still take to the pitch on a Saturday afternoon. And with a major scare already, they will be hoping that there will be no repeat when funding is finally released.